Hi guys, welcome to VEX today. Today I'm gonna explain what is VEX robotics. Well, what I'm gonna go over is the VEX V5 platform, which is just for high schoolers, and it's actually global, so it's worldwide. I'm pretty sure many countries use this. And what it basically is there's a new game and challenge every year, and teams design, build, and program their own robots for that challenge. So, like this year, we have a challenge where you have to grab balls, and then the robot has to put them into these tubular structures, and it's very competitive. So, the key V5 components that you're gonna need is a V5 brain. What a V5 brain is, it's basically what controls your entire robot. Every command goes through the brain, and then that command registers inside the components, and then they do the command. So the most notable component is going to be the V5 motor because it provides powerful movement for various robot tasks. Well, what that means is basically what it does is it makes the robot move, essentially. So let's say if I told my motor to spin for 3 seconds, the mechanism would move for 3 seconds. Is basically what that means. Um, my next big thing is V5 sensors. V5 sensors make sure that your robot is very precise and accurate. Precision accuracy is a big thing about Vex robotics, and sensors are able to do that. Here's a picture on how everything works together. Um, so as you can see, there's a brain in the middle, and it's connected to a battery in the top right. The battery's powering the brain, and therefore the brain is powering all the motors and the radio. Now, the radio was what's in between the two motors, and it's flashing red. So what that means is that means it's connected to the controller. So the radio transmits a signal from the brain to the controller to tell the controller that it's now connected to the brain. If we didn't have the radio, we'd have to connect a wire from the brain to the controller the entire time it's driving, which is not correct. It's horrible. So that's why we actually have a radio. Now, what do teams actually do in Vex Robotics? Well, what they do is they design a robot to solve a game or a challenge. And as I've already explained, the game this year was to grab balls and put it into tubular structures. Last year, it was to grab rings and then put them on poles. So, what you do is you build and assemble mechanisms to do the challenge, and you program the robot either using block or text code. If you're just starting out in programming, I would suggest using block code. But if you have a good understanding of text code, I would suggest using Python or C++. Anything other than those two platforms is pretty bad for Vex. And the last thing teams really do is they test and iterate and improve their performance. So what that means is if your robot is doing the task only 60% of the time, you're gonna have to figure out what's wrong with it and why it's only doing it 60% of the time. You're gonna have to do multiple iterations on it just to figure out how you can do it like 100% of the time. And now let's move on to the competition and game. So there's a new game released each season. Each season is definitely different. And in that game, robots are able to score points using game objects. So game objects are basically the objects that VEX V5 is gonna say how you score. So this year it's hexagonal balls. Last year it was rings. The year before that it was triangular balls. So on and so forth. And it's basically objects that let you score. And there's gonna be multiple on them of the field. Um, Strategy wise, there's gonna be multiple strategies in the market, and each team definitely has to be ready for any scenario that's gonna come. Like for example, in my autonomous, which is a robot that runs on pre-written code, in my autonomous, if my robot goes haywire, you have to be able to handle that and make up for it in your driver control. So while we're on the topic, let's continue. Autonomous is basically when a robot is running on its own. There is no human interaction or interference. So what that means is I basically have code on my computer, and then when I run it, the robot does the code on my computer by itself. And then driver control is when you code the controller, not the robot. When you code the controller, the person controlling the controller is able to move the robot across the field using the joysticks, and the buttons are able to make it do certain actions. Like, for example, if I wanted to spin a wheel, a button could do that. Both of these are required in competitions, as autonomous makes up the first 15 to 20 seconds, and then driver control makes up the rest of the time, which is a minute 45 seconds. Now, you want your robot to be very, very accurate, and you want to be prepared before going into your competitions. Accuracy is key. All right, so you're gonna learn multiple skills through VEX, but these are the most important in my opinion. You're gonna learn engineering and mechanical design. What this means is basically as you build structures, you're gonna be able to understand underlying engineering concepts and problem solve. Programming and logic is a big one because as y'all are programming, the logic needs to be sound. What I mean by that is you have to make sure you understand your entire code and what's working. And if it's not working, you want to know why it's not working. And each time you're going to have to figure it out. And that leads me to problem solving and iteration. If something's not working, you're going to have to iterate multiple times just to understand why it's not working and how to fix it. And that actually is a key part of X robotics, because what we're trying to do is build people for the industry. Even though it is a game and a challenge, the competition is very competitive, and problem solving and iteration is definitely a key part. So the last one, and I would argue the most important one, is teamwork and time management. If y'all have the a good team, but you have terrible time management, nothing's ever gonna get done. You want to make sure you have a good schedule where where everybody's able to come together and build the robot, code the robot, and in turn make sure everything's running smoothly. So, if you're starting out, you should make sure your utmost priority is to get a good team and you have good time management. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was just to tell you what Vex Robotics was about. I hope you all have a good day and Merry Christmas.